Alright, I had to stop at Harbor Freight to get some more gloves. You guys might have noticed in my last video I wasn't wearing them. It's because I used all my black ones and then all I had was my stepdad's extra large ones, and those are really hard to work in when you have tiny hands like me. So I got a set of mediums. I had a 20% off coupon, so these are 7 mil and they were $7.99. So not bad. You only get 50 though, and the black ravens that I usually get, you get 100, and I think they're like $18. So it ends up being about the same price. But if you have a coupon, that helps. So I'm gonna head up to my family's place and keep working on the Celica. I'm gonna start off with replacing the rack and pinion bellows. They're ripped and just covered in nastiness, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then we gotta get these axles in, get the cross member back in, and buttoning up fluids and things like that. So let's get started. Right here, let's see my finger, there we go. Right there is that ripped boot. I've already got part of it off. I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick and get the new boot on, and then we will continue with the axle installation. What we ended up doing last night, I didn't film this because with two of us, we're both in the shot all the time. It just doesn't work. We did get the axle in. So in order to get this in, the stock axles have a little lip that you can basically put a brass bar onto the CV housing right here, the silver part, and you can use a brass bar to kind of tap that into the transmission. The aftermarket ones are totally round and you can't do that. So what we ended up doing was we put the axle in straight as far as we could without, you know, the snap ring. And we tapped it with those, is it called a no-blow hammer? It's got the little beads in it, and so we just tapped it very gently straight on. It went right in the transmission. A tip for you, I put multi-purpose grease around the snap ring, and the reason why I did that is that it holds that snap ring down because you want the opening to stay at the bottom when you're putting in the driver's side axle in this car. The right hand axle was straightforward. There's a snap ring in it. Make sure you use a lot of PV blaster. If yours is rusted like mine, use 2 flathead screwdrivers. Put it into the bearing housing that holds the axle up to the engine right here, and it goes right in. Easy peasy, got everything installed. Another tip for you, if your sway bar end links and things are rusted like mine, what we ended up having to do was I sprayed the hell out of it with PB Blaster. Still couldn't get the sway bar links were turning together. Tried the Allen wrench thing, still couldn't get it apart. So what we ended up doing was taking a torch and just heating up the nut itself so that it would expand enough to release off of that bolt. It worked. It's tricky because you don't want to overheat anything, burn up your rubbers, stuff like that. So that's what we ended up having to do. Right now we're working on getting the exhaust fitted and welded up. As you can see, the flex pipe was totally busted off, and I think a part of the problem was that it should have been in front of this exhaust hanger, not behind it. And so because of that, the headers also take you over here. The headers were cracked all the way around here because it didn't have enough flex. Now we can weld the exhaust back onto there. We need to install the headers first before we put the rest of the exhaust in the car, because otherwise it doesn't fit with the transmission and everything in there. We weren't able to get the whole header and exhaust back in. I fixed several leaks, so there's no more oil leak coming down from the rear main. Of course, we haven't started the car yet, so there could be some other leaks when it's under pressure that will appear. I fixed a leak in the transmission. The drain plug was leaking. Exhaust going in, fixing all the holes. And Toothless is gonna be ready to drive. So I'm feeling super optimistic. I shouldn't say super optimistic. I'm feeling very confident that we did this correctly. So we fixed a lot of issues in the transmission. Number one, the fluid, there was maybe a half a quart of gear oil, excuse me. It takes 2.6 quarts of the 75 W90 gear oil. There's, yeah, maybe a half a quart, so that was bad. Number two, that clutch spring had popped out. And number three was the shift fork wasn't connected correctly. The bracket, the retaining wire had popped off, and so it was just kind of flopping around in there. So yeah, we fixed a lot of issues with the transmission, fixed a lot of leaks. We're in a good place, so I'm so excited. I can't wait to show you guys it running and driving, and yeah.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are.
Fine, it's gonna shit fine. She can edit it out. So what?
We're dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. You search but you stay lost. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars.
So we drove the car, and here is a pile of oil, and there's a trail leading all the way back into the garage. So Celica has a massive oil leak, and we can't tell exactly where it's coming from. It's either coming from the oil pan, right where the rear main housing goes into the block. I didn't get enough silicone in there, or it's the rear main itself. But it's literally a steady drip. We drove it around the block 2 times and lost about a quart of oil, which is super disappointing because the car drove so great. I took the time to make sure that all the surfaces were good on the rear main. I replaced the seal. I did everything that I thought I should do. And now I've got this huge oil leak. I'm kind of expecting, based on the amount of oil that was coming out, that it might be the rear main. Honestly, just being so excited about having it done, the thought of having to tear into it again is a little bit disappointing, and I don't think I can do it right now. We're going to first figure out for sure what it is. The car drove really nice, shifted amazing, but the oil leak is a problem.
I remember